Meghan Markle and Prince Harry remain at the centre of one of the most emotionally complex modern royal narratives, a story that continues to evolve long after their departure from royal duties. Within the walls of Buckingham Palace, there is still a lingering sense that their chapter with the royal family has not truly closed, and perhaps may never fully close in the way some once hoped it would. Time has passed, yet the emotional tension between the monarchy and the couple has not dissolved in the way distance often promises. According to royal commentators such as Richard Palmer, one of the key concerns within royal circles is not simply what Harry and Meghan have already said in public, but what they might say in the future. Their willingness to speak openly about private royal matters has fundamentally changed how trust is viewed within the institution. Conversations that once would have been considered strictly private are now treated with caution, almost as if every exchange carries the weight of potential future exposure. This has created an atmosphere of emotional hesitation around King Charles III, who now finds himself navigating an extremely delicate balance. On one hand, there is the natural human instinct of a father who may wish to reconnect with his son, to rebuild some form of relationship after years of distance and public tension. On the other hand, there is the responsibility of a monarch who must consider the wider implications of every interaction, not only for his own reputation, but for the stability of the institution itself. Duncan Larkham has described this position as deeply conflicted, suggesting that the king is effectively trapped between emotional loyalty and institutional caution. Any attempt to reach out could be interpreted in multiple ways, and there is an underlying fear that private reconciliation efforts might eventually become public narratives. This fear, whether fully justified or not, has contributed to a sense of stagnation within the family dynamic. To understand how the situation reached this point, one must return to the period following Harry and Meghan's departure from royal duties. Their move to the United States marked a turning point, not only in their personal lives, but in the global perception of the monarchy. What initially appeared to be a step toward independence gradually became a much deeper separation, one defined by competing narratives and unresolved emotional tension. The Oprah Winfrey interview became the most defining moment of that shift. In that conversation, Meghan spoke candidly about her experience within the royal institution, describing feelings of isolation during one of the most vulnerable periods of her life, her pregnancy. She also raised deeply sensitive concerns about conversations allegedly held within royal circles regarding the potential skin tone of her unborn child. Harry, sitting beside her, supported her account and added that he had also experienced difficult discussions with members of his family. The interview was not simply a media event, it was a global emotional rupture. For supporters, it revealed the human cost of institutional pressure. For critics, it represented a breach of royal privacy on an unprecedented scale. Within the royal household, the reaction was described by commentators as one of shock and deep concern. Christopher Anderson, in his biographical accounts, suggested that Prince William experienced significant emotional distress in the days leading up to the interview's broadcast. While such claims are based on insider reports rather than official confirmation, they reflect the intensity of pressure surrounding the event. Princess Kate, according to similar accounts, maintained a quieter but equally emotional response. She was said to have held on to the hope that reconciliation between the brothers might still be possible, even as the situation continued to deteriorate. Her role within the family has often been described as one of emotional balance, attempting to bridge divides where possible, while also respecting the boundaries set by others. However, as time progressed, that hope appeared to weaken. Harry's later public comments, particularly those referencing King Charles' health in a 2025 BBC interview, reportedly created further emotional strain within the family. These remarks were interpreted by some within royal circles as reopening sensitive wounds at a time when emotions were already fragile. According to Anderson's narrative, this period marked a significant shift in Kate's outlook. Where she had once supported continued efforts toward reconciliation, there was now a growing acceptance that the divide may be more difficult to repair than initially believed. Whether this reflects personal sentiment or broader family dynamics remains a matter of interpretation, but it highlights the emotional complexity surrounding the situation. At the heart of this entire conflict lies a deeper question about trust. Once trust between family members becomes intertwined with public exposure, the rules of engagement change permanently. In the case of Harry and Meghan, their decision to share personal experiences publicly fundamentally altered the boundaries of private royal life. From their perspective, speaking out represented a necessary act of truth-telling. From the palace perspective, it represented a breach of long-standing tradition. These two interpretations exist side by side, rarely intersecting in agreement, and that is where much of the ongoing tension originates. Harry's personal history also plays a crucial role in understanding his actions. The loss of Princess Diana remains one of the most defining emotional events of his life. Growing up under intense media scrutiny, followed by the trauma of her death, created a long-lasting sensitivity toward press intrusion and institutional silence. Many commentators believe that these experiences heavily influenced his decision to step away from royal life. Meghan's experience, though different in origin, appears to have created similar emotional outcomes. Entering the royal family as an outsider, she faced immediate and intense global attention, combined with internal expectations that were often difficult to navigate. Over time, this environment reportedly contributed to feelings of isolation and emotional strain. Together, Harry and Meghan formed a partnership that increasingly prioritized emotional well-being and personal autonomy over traditional royal expectations. Their departure was not simply a physical relocation, but a structural shift in how they chose to engage with public life. From the monarchy's perspective, however, this shift introduced new challenges. The royal institution has long relied on controlled messaging, carefully managed public appearances, and a consistent approach to privacy. The emergence of independent storytelling by senior members of the family disrupted this framework in a way that could not easily be contained. King Charles now finds himself at the centre of this evolving dynamic. As both monarch and father, his position requires him to navigate emotional complexity on multiple levels. Any attempt at reconciliation must consider not only personal feelings, but also institutional perception, public reaction, and long-term reputational impact. Prince William, meanwhile, carries his own emotional burden. Once extremely close to Harry, their relationship has become defined by distance and silence. The breakdown of that bond is often described by observers as one of the most painful aspects of the wider royal conflict, largely because of the shared history between the brothers, particularly following the death of their mother. Princess Kate's role in this situation has often been viewed as one of quiet mediation. However, even her influence has limits when faced with deeply entrenched emotional positions and repeated public disclosures. Over time, even well-intentioned efforts at reconciliation can become emotionally exhausting when progress feels inconsistent or fragile. What makes this entire narrative particularly compelling for the public is that it extends beyond royalty. At its core, this is a story about family breakdown, communication failure, and the difficulty of rebuilding trust once it has been publicly fractured. These are experiences that resonate far beyond palace walls. Many people who follow the story see reflections of their own experiences within it, whether related to estranged family members, unresolved conflict, or the challenge of balancing personal truth with relational loyalty. This emotional relatability is part of what sustains global interest in Harry and Meghan's journey. Despite criticism, Harry and Meghan continue to present a united front. Their life in California represents a deliberate attempt to create a different environment for themselves and their children, one that prioritizes emotional safety and personal independence. Their media projects, public statements, and charitable work all reflect a desire to control their narrative rather than have it defined by external institutions. Yet even with this distance, the connection to the royal family has not fully dissolved. Periodic statements, interviews, and public discussions continue to draw attention back to the relationship, suggesting that the emotional thread between them remains active, even if strained. The question of reconciliation continues to divide opinion. Some believe time will eventually soften tensions and allow relationships to heal naturally. Others believe too much has been said publicly for trust to be fully restored in its original form. What is clear, however, is that silence alone is no longer enough to resolve the underlying issues. The modern royal landscape has changed permanently, and with it the expectations placed on those who live within or adjacent to it. Harry and Meghan, whether viewed as disruptors or truth-tellers, have undeniably altered the way the monarchy is perceived. Their story has forced conversations about mental health, institutional tradition, media responsibility, and personal autonomy into the global spotlight. And perhaps that is why this story continues to matter so deeply to so many people. Because it is not only about royalty, it is about what happens when family, power, and public life collide in ways that no one fully knows how to repair. And somewhere within that collision, the story of Harry, Meghan, King Charles, and Prince William is still unfolding, still unresolved, and still deeply human in ways that continue to capture the world's attention.